It's the penultimate round of the 2022 ADAC GT Masters Championship, racing for the title of German GT champion. And we are looking at the pole sitter and the championship leader. Raffaele Marciello extended his points lead to 13 points over the second place drivers in qualifying this morning, but we are at the track that bites. Welcome along to the Sachsenring, everybody. The undulating Sachsenring. It is an unusual circuit. It is an epic circuit. There is a massive crowd in here enjoying the autumn sunshine here this afternoon. Weather conditions are absolutely perfect. And there's an awful lot of people here to see that man there, Raffaele Marciello. As I said, he starts from pole position, but this is a circuit that is very, very tricky indeed. And we can see tributes on the windscreen there, RAP in that car. Alongside me, Adam Weller.
Yes, so that is a German superbike racer in the IDM Championship, I believe, who unfortunately passed away recently. A lot of the German motorcycle community have been paying tribute using the hashtag LL11, and good to see that Landgraf are doing the same. Landgraf and the Drago ZVO teams with a front row lockout for Mercedes. Raffaele Marciello securing the car's fourth pole position of the season. The most poles we've seen from a single entry since 2015. But he's going to have that man to contend with at the first corner.
Fabian Schiller, who starts alongside Raffaele Marciello, as mentioned. Of course, driving alongside Fabian Schiller will be that man there, Jules Gounon. And it was only a couple of days ago we got confirmation that he would actually be here. He broke a couple of vertebrae in his back at an accident in the IMSA Championship at Virginia International Raceway back in August. And it was looking unlikely that he'd even make it here this weekend. We are so pleased to welcome Jules Gounon back to the grid. He is sharing driving duties with the car that starts second on the grid, so we will see him later on in the race. You saw third on the grid, Kim Louis Schramm just now, flash up on your screen, but there, fourth on the grid, is the driver, one of two, who lies second in the championship. 13 points adrift, Christian Engelhardt and Ian Changuven in the Team U Sport Wagen Technique Porsche. Albert Costa Balboa, along with teammate Jack Aitken, are also still very much in the hunt. 28 points adrift of the championship lead. And there are still 109 points remaining in this season, so it is all to play for. That man there, Marvin Dienst, returned to GT Masters after a long absence at the Sachsenring last time out, and boy did he perform. Really impressive stuff, sharing with Jan Marszalkowski. A Sachsenring last time, we needed a bit of a lie down after that. Can we cope with another race like we saw in race 2, or indeed race 1?
It was a dramatic weekend, wasn't it? Certainly. Tyre life is always critical here. It often leads to a final 10 minutes where some people have a lot more Pirelli underneath them than others, and chaos ensues from there. You may recall last year Lucas Stoltz making an absolutely wonderful manoeuvre for second place at the last corner, and none other than Christian Engelhardt also stole the podium from Rolf and Nijken at the very final corner. Engelhardt starting from fourth place today. He will be looking to get another podium on this season. And Mick Wieshofer, fresh off some karting on Thursday and a couple of days action in the Lamborghini, he'll be looking to work his way into the top 5 from 8th on the grid.
Can I just say, anybody who thinks they can get in a go-kart and follow Mick Wieshofer around for a lap, think again. I lasted for about a corner and a half and then he disappeared into the distance. He made his presence known when he came round to lap me about 30 seconds later. I soon got out of the way, I have to tell you. So, yes, the car's very much getting ready to go in the autumn sunshine. Other parish notices we need to bring you are that Schubert Motorsport are down to one car this weekend. We have no Niklas Kruten and no Nicky Katzberg, both on duties in other places. It means that Jesse Krohn and Ben Green have combined into one car. The BMW, they struggled a little bit for pace this morning in qualifying. Qualifying that was interrupted by 2 red flags. That says a lot about this circuit and how challenging it is. There's another driver who's a bit useful on the go-kart track, by the way, Maximilian Paul. This morning's qualifying, we saw Joel Sturm into the gravel and we saw Elias Seppänen into the gravel. Joel Sturm still able to put together a time before that sees him start from 12th on the grid in the Allied Racing Porsche. But it is a challenging track, and those 2 red flags in qualifying this morning really put some weight behind that, because a lot of drivers, for many, it's their first time here around the circuit, including that man there, Ben Green. First time we've seen him here at the Sachsenring.
Yes, it is. I'd say mixed bag, his analysis on qualifying. He said, I think I could have got a little more out of the car before the red flags at the end of the session, but not that much. The team as a whole, however, are very confident indeed that the BMW M4 will be better around here. The M6 had a penchant for eating tyres. You'll note that BMW have taken 2 wins here at the Sachsenring in GT Masters, 2013, 2015, both before the M6 was introduced. So they're hoping that the M4 can return them to winning ways here in the Sachsenring.
You talk about cars that have a penchant for eating tyres. Well, this circuit does. We went for a walk last night, and it was like the European Marbles Festival. The amount of rubber rolled up at the side of the circuit, and it just shows that tyre degradation will be an issue here. And drivers who've got the first stint in this race, they need to think about their partners, because whatever state the tyres are in, their partner drivers are going to have to cope with those to the end of the race. Tyre changes are not permitted in GT Masters.
Yes, that is one of many challenges that they have to face. Also, no tyre warmers allowed, which was part of the reason qualifying was so challenging this morning in sub-10 degrees Celsius conditions. So the tyres are a very markedly different challenge and different factors to contend with here versus some other GT3 categories.
Any second now, we will see the number 29 car. There it is, the number 29 Monteplas by Land Motorsport Audi. They had all sorts of problems this morning in qualifying, lining up last on the grid. Yusuf Avega, and he, for this event, is sharing with Dries Vanthoor, Ricardo Feller on duties in other places. So Dries Vanthoor, who is something of a superstar in GT3 racing, it is always good to have Dries Vanthoor back on the grid. But with his car starting last on the grid, he is going to have a lot of work to do when he takes that over from Yusuf Avega. Of course, Yusuf Avega will run for the first part of the race in that, and will try and work his way forwards as best as possible. The cars lined up along the pit straight in the fashion that is unique to the ADAC GT Masters, and the sun is shining. There is an awful lot of people here, and there is Daniel Junqueira. Of course, he and Jules Gounon and Raffaele Marciello were something of a formidable combination at the Spa 12-hour race a few weeks ago, and Daniel Junqueira alongside Raffaele Marciello, that has proven to be a great combination.
Yeah, very effective at the Lausitz Ring. Of course, they got something of a lucky podium in race 2 at the Lausitz Ring with all of the chaos that ensued. Raffaele Marciello taking the Italian job on board. Self-Preservation Society avoided all of the incidents that happened in the last 5 minutes and netted some critical points in the championship. He'd probably be about even with the duo of Engelhardt and Guven had he not moved up from 8th to 3rd in the last several laps of that race.
Yes, he just waited back and let it all explode in front of him. And if you haven't seen race 2 from Lausitz Ring, I suggest you catch up on it, because it really was something to behold, something to be talked about for a long time. And here we're going to have a look at the grid for this race. It's Raffaele Marciello who lines up on pole position with Fabian Schiller alongside Kim-Louis Schramm. Great job from him with Christian Engelhardt on row 2 of the grid. Row 3, Albert Costa Balboa and Marvin Dienst for Team ZVO. Row 4, Elias Seppänen, despite that spin into the gravel, and Mick Wieshofer in the Lamborghini. Patrick Niederhauser and Salman Vega make it an all-Audi row 5. Row 6, Max Paul and Joel Sturm are lining up 12th on the grid. Then it's Ben Green and Thierry Vermeulen, of course, the only BMW 13th on the grid. Tim Zimmerman and Arthur Rouget line up on row 8, and on row 9, Florian Spengler and Simon Riker with Yusuf Avega bringing up the rear. The Audi not maybe enjoying the pace of many of the other brands here at Sachsenring.
It's interesting, isn't it? In 13 years of GT Masters appearances here at the Sachsenring, Audi have won 13 races. However, the last time an Audi driver stood on the top step of the podium it was 2019. Of course, 2009, the debut year for Audi in GT Masters, and they have been a huge force to be reckoned with here. Recent years haven't gone in their favour. They'll be looking to get a car up to the top in 2022.
And may I remind you that the car that won race 2 at this event last year was a Mercedes in the hands of Jules Gounon. At the time, he was sharing duties with Igor Valilko, but with Fabian Schiller in that car, he must fancy his chances. But Raffaele Marciello, you don't see many people get past him. It'll be interesting to see what it's like going into turn 1. That turn 1 is quite a steep drop and a tight turn. It's a great overtaking opportunity, but we may well see cars in the gravel on that opening lap.
Yeah, tricky corner camber-wise. There's some negative camber on the initial turn-in, and then it drops away quite spectacularly as you turn into the second apex, as it were. And a bobsled world record holder in Francesco Frederick giving him the command. They do get some sporting stars, don't they, for the 1 minute command? They do.
It's an all-star show here at the Sachsenring for the ADAC GT Masters. We are just a little outside Chemnitz in Saxony, the track that was nicknamed the Mini Nordschleife. It really is one of the most challenging circuits these drivers visit. It is 3.671 kilometers around. That's a little over 2.2 miles, and it has 14 turns, 4 to the right and 10 to the left. One thing that is unusual, it's only one of 2 tracks in the season where the cars run in an anti-clockwise direction. It has an awful lot of undulation, lots of ups, lots of downs, lots of blind crests as well. A gradient of 12.8% at the steepest point going into the final corner. Not a lot of overtaking opportunities, and as we have mentioned already, tyre degradation will be an issue as the cars start on their formation lap.
Yeah, critical now to get the heat through the tyres. We saw in qualifying earlier on, they really wanted 1 or 2 laps to get the heat through the tyres before they went off on a flying lap. No such luxuries here. It's 1 lap. There, critically, is the penalty zone on the outside of turn 2 here at the Sachsenring. They have to go through that at some 50 kilometers an hour if the stewards tell them to do so. The stewards also have the liberty to tell you that you have to do it more than once should they decide that your foul is harsh enough. The good old drive-through penalty is also still available, but that only gets handed out to the most troubling incidents, I suppose, is the phrase I'll use.
Yes, we said before Sachsenring there weren't going to be many drive-through penalties, and it was like a drive-through fest, but hey-ho, what do we know? So the cars are very much on their formation lap at the moment, heading around towards turn 8, and we are getting ready for what will be an hour of racing for these GT3 monsters. It is the ADAC GT Masters season 2022, round 6 of a 7-race season, race 11 of a 14-race season, race 12 being tomorrow. So this critical moment as the cars head down towards a part of the track that is nicknamed the waterfall, and when you see it, you'll see why. If you've ever tried to walk up it the wrong way, you'll understand it is very, very steep. The cars now lining up side by side towards turn 13 already, just trying to get the heat into the tyres, a little bit of jostling, heading up towards turn 14 very, very shortly. In a few moments, we will see the safety car duck into the pit lane. This really is a steep climb up towards turn 14, and then we're out on to the pit straight. This is going to be one of the overtaking opportunities in this race. So the safety car peels off into the pit lane. This is race 11 of the season, the track that bites. This is the Sachsenring. It's the ADAC GT Masters. We are go. Raffaele Marciello, what a start from him into turn 1. Here comes Fabian Schiller, a little look on the outside. Marciello goes deep into the corner. Schiller is through. Did not expect to see that, but problems at the back. That's Joe Sturm who's sideways. He's also tagged use of a Vega, so Sturm's day goes from bad to worse. A Vega and Sturm dropping to the back of the pack.
Yeah, I think they were trying to go 4 wide at the back of the field there. I'd have advised them against it, but that's the kind of thing that happens sometimes turn one here at Sachsenring. Marciello went deep into the first corner, as he said. Max Paul with a snap of oversteer there, just coming out of turn 6. He did very well to hold that. The last place you want to spin out is in the mid-pack, and we saw that from Joel Sturm just now.
So Marciello going into turn 1 took an awful lot of speed in, went deep. Fabian Schiller took a very different line in, and that really worked for him. He's already opened up quite a lead. So Fabian Schiller leading Raffaele Marciello, Kim Louis Schramm in 3rd place. A great start from the Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini. Albert Costa Balboa up into 4th place ahead of Christian Engelhardt and Marvin Deest. A good start from him as well. It looks as though everybody is still in the race. So 28 and 22, that is Ovega, and also, no, 29 should I say, Ovega, and 22, Joel Sturm, are running at the back of the pack, but they have survived that incident at the start. And there is Tim Zimmerman moving to the inside of Max Paul. It's Audi versus Lamborghini. Tiptoeing around this circuit, tries to shut the door. Max Paul getting a couple of wheels onto the grass. No harm done there, but Ben Green is also in amongst the pack as well. A lot of jostling in these opening laps. It's a great opportunity to gain places. It's a great opportunity to absolutely throw it all away.
Ben Green was judged to be the 3rd element in that second corner incident. He is also under investigation along with Sturm and Ovega for that first lap collision. We'll see what part he had to play and whether or not it is punishable in due course, but certainly the car still seems to be A-OK, and that does appear to be the case in all 3 cases. So that is good to see that we've still got the full field running. Looked like we had a Niederhauser on the attack there up against Elias Seppänen. He's looking to the inside there at Saxon turn 13 for 7th place.
Raffaele Marciello is responding. Purple in sectors 1 and sector 2 on this lap, so he is already looking to close in on Fabian Schiller, and he'll want to get up close to that fellow Mercedes as soon as possible to try and find a route past. But Marciello, the quickest man on the track at the moment, closing in on the leader. This is a challenge for position. Further back, Florian Spengler and Arthur Rouget going 3 abreast with the 54 car, Simon Riker. Riker goes very wide and just lets them get on with it. It comes out in favour of Arthur Rouget, so that is for 13th position. Ahead of them is Ben Green, but this is quite a fight all the way back down through the field. The 28 car, Salman Ovega, brother of Yusuf Ovega, on the back of that queue as well.
Yeah, Audi won't be best pleased with the fact that they've got 4 of their cars there fighting for 14th through 17th place. They'll be getting willed on over at Ingolstadt, the home base for Audi. You just saw there the 19 Lamborghini from the Emil Frey stable getting its way ahead of them, of course. But this man getting ahead of Marciello in the early stages, Fabian Schiller. I'm sure he's making Jules Gounon smile.
Yes, he is, but look at Raffaele Marciello. So last time across the timing line, the gap was 0.81, so just over 0.8 of a second between first and second. We're going to see what it is when they cross the line this time. I would suggest that Marciello will have closed in. He's taken a 10th out of it, so Fabian Schiller will see the yellow Mamba in his rearview mirrors and will know that he is incoming. Second in the championship is Christian Engelhardt in the yellow and blue Porsche that you've seen there. He is currently running in 5th. Ahead of him, Albert Costa Balboa, all still very much in the championship as well.
Interesting to note that the bulletin has changed, reference the lap 1 incident. It's now the number 54 car of Simon Riker that has taken the place of Ben Green as under investigation. So the Schubert BMW now judged not to have been a part of that incident. The East Talent Racing Audi, though, is now under investigation.
So if you're new to GT Masters, to remind you, it is a timed race. There's 1 hour of racing plus 1 lap. There will be a mandatory pit stop that will need to be performed by every car. The pit stop window will open 25 minutes into the race and close 35 minutes into the race. During that 10-minute window, every car must visit the pits for a mandatory stop and driver change. And just to add a little bit of spice to it, there is also a minimum pit stop time. The car must be in the pits for a minimum of 65 seconds from pit entry to pit exit. And if they don't do that, they are likely to incur a penalty. So we can see a little under 55 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining, and the challenge is on. Christian Engelhardt is looking impatient as he looks at the back of Albert Costa Balboa. To remind you, also, we have a success penalty in GT Masters, and Albert Costa Balboa and Jack Aitken are carrying an extra 10 kilograms as a result of their 2nd place in the last race. Christopher Mies and Tim Zimmerman are carrying an extra 20 kilos on account of winning the last race, and Daniel Juncadella and Raffaele Marciello are carrying an extra 5 kilograms on account of the fact they got 3rd place last time out at Sachsenring. And I wonder if that might have had some effect on that lap 1 issue where Fabian Schiller was able to get past Marciello.
Quite possibly, yes. Of course, he didn't have that weight in qualifying either, per the regulations. You referenced there the 20 kilos for Zimmerman and Mies. Unfortunately, they've also got a black and white flag, which is just a slap on the wrist. It is just a warning, but that is for the little bit of closeness, let's say, that we saw between themselves and Max Paul a little earlier on.
I said that Raffaele Marciello was taking chunks out of the lead. Well, forget that. Schiller's opened it up to nearly a second. This is a replay of that opening lap. You can see Schiller ducking to the inside. Marciello taking a very deep line into that tricky first corner. Some very wily driving from Schiller, and that was Ovega going a little bit of rallycross, and also that was Sturm and the other of the Ovegas pointing in the wrong direction. So we saw that, and it was actually Salman Ovega that was forced off the track and rejoined on the exit of that corner. This was the view on board with Ben Green, and it's always a little bit sketchy when they try to go 3 abreast around that corner. It doesn't often not end in tears, and this is the view looking back from Ben Green. You can see that was the 3 abreast, and now we'll see, oh no we won't, we're thought we're going to see Ovega disappearing off. This is the view of that lead change. That was great from Fabian Schiller. He really kept his cool while Marciello was going deep into the corner.
Yeah, I think Raffaele tried to get a lot of turning done while the corner was still in its negative camber phase as well, which maybe helped him wide, and well, that face tells the story. Certainly the Landgraf team don't like 2nd places, they like victories, and unfortunately Raffaele Marciello in MMA terms is going to have to fight from underneath now. He's got Fabian Schiller ahead of him.
I would have to say, though, that Marciello, 2nd place, I know he doesn't like 2nd place. I know he's likely to drop the trophy in the bin, but 2nd place is got to be better than sticking it in the gravel trap or having any kind of non-finish, because he has a championship to think of. He has a 13-point advantage at the moment, and if he stays exactly where he is going to be in a really healthy position with just 3 races remaining.
Counterpoint, he's only got half a second between himself and Fabian Schiller all of a sudden. All of your logic is sound, I'm just not sure it's going to Raffaele right now. I don't think the direct feed has made it to the radios.
Just as well.
Raffaele Marciello is on the move. I saw Florian Spenger and Thierry Vermeulen there briefly having a good scrap for 14th as well, but we focus on this battle for the lead as Raffaele Marciello sits in waiting as they go left, and then left again, and then left and left. It's quite easy to see why the right side tyres here at the Sachsenring take quite such a beating. Just drifting wide there was Marciello coming out of T11.
So let's see what he can do about Fabian Schiller. Of course, Raffaele Marciello is a massively experienced pilot, and he's just won the GT World Challenge Europe Championship, so he is definitely on the crest of a wave. Fabian Schiller, probably at a different point in his career, a lot less experienced, but has shown great pace all season long. But can he keep off the yellow Mamba? Because that yellow car is looking very strong. It'll be interesting to see how defensive Schiller gets when Marciello gets up close with him. Christian Engelhardt getting up close with Albert Costa Balboa. He clearly thinks that Lamborghini is holding him up. In the background is Marvin Dienst. His comeback to GT Masters so far has been something of a revelation. He has eyes on getting past both of them.
Oh, and Engelhardt there really suffered one turn in. The back tried to let go, and that's given the opportunity to Marvin Dienst to maybe try and find a way through. He was looking to the inside, to the outside, any which way he could. Just as we went on board with Engelhardt there on the apex of turn 2/3, he just lost the rear end momentarily, and that almost allowed Dienst the opportunity.
And Christian Engelhardt really does need to play the long game here, along with Ian Chen-Guven, of course, second in the championship. Another driver who cannot afford a non-finish. A non-finish at this stage in the season could be absolutely disastrous. So better to finish in 5th than not finish at all, but he clearly needs to go forwards if he possibly can. Albert Costa Balboa really looks to be holding them up. Marvin Dienst looks to be closing in. He's dropped back a little from Engelhardt at the moment, but I think Dienst might have something else up his sleeve. Behind them, Elias Seppänen, the other of the yellow Mambas. Yes, there's 2 of them, as if we needed any confusing at all. And then behind Elias Seppänen, Patrick Niederhauser. There's a driver who's in the wars last time out. Of course, the 2019 champion in the Audi, looking to make a challenge on Elias Seppänen.
Yeah, great to see the number 15 car doing so well this season. Of course, Niederhauser joined by the reigning TCR Germany champion in Luca Engstler. Engstler, who is moving up to GT3 this season, and we'll have to see how he progresses. Certainly for a first year, I think it's gone rather well for Luca.
Yes, it really has. He's taken to it like the proverbial duck to water, and could not be any more different from TCR Germany, but he moved into GT Masters and has been really, really competitive. Looking back from Elias Seppänen, and he's a driver who's had a steep learning curve as well. He was in ADAC Formula 4 just a couple of years ago, and now here he is driving the yellow Mamba, and that is quite a step up into GT3 racing. The 1, 2, 3, Fabian Schiller, Raffaele Marciello and Kim Louis Schramm. You can see the little inset picture on the left-hand side of your screen, and that is on board with Marciello as he hunts down Fabian Schiller. First 3 have broken away from Albert Costa Balboa, and the gap is about 4.3 seconds back to Albert Costa Balboa. He is at the head of this little battle, and Patrick Niederhauser once again challenging Elias Seppänen. Patrick Niederhauser, a very experienced pilot. Elias Seppänen, not so much at the moment, but Mick Wiesofer in the background in the number 14 Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini. Problem is, if Niederhauser moves alongside Seppänen, Wiesofer's just going to fill the gap, isn't he?
Absolutely right. Speaking to Seppänen earlier on, he was rather disappointed after ending up in the gravel during qualifying, but he held his hands up. I kind of gave him the way out. I said, was there a tyre issue or something of that nature? He said, nope, nothing, just me clattering the curves a bit too heavy, ended up in the gravel. But, you know, live and learn, learning experience, and Seppänen has been very promising this year. I must say the 84, the kind of junior Mamba, as it were, in the hands of both Seppänen and Frankie Bird, has been impressive at times this year, well in the top 10 again. I'm sure that Landgraf are just as happy with their juniors as they are Raffaele Marciello and Danny Juncadella.
Yes, both cars really strong pairings, and it's great to see the young stars coming into GT3 racing and rising up through the ranks. We were just taking a look up the waterfall as the piece of track out of turn 12 down towards turn 13 is called. Judging by the steepness of it, you can see why it's called the waterfall. You see a graphic on your screen, and that is indicating an initiative of BWT in cooperation with the ADAC, donating €4 to the Be Water mission for every lap completed by every car. And it is a project to build wells in the mainly rural areas of Gambia and Tanzania, providing access to clean drinking water. Last year, they raised well over 60 grand, and we're looking to beat that this year. And we will keep an eye on that total as it flashes up throughout the weekend, and we want to see that as high as possible. Great to see the ADAC getting involved in global initiatives. Also, the ADAC running their new innovative fuel in this race, Shell Blue Gasoline 98 GT Masters. It's a fuel that consists of approximately 50% renewable components. It's developed by Shell exclusively for the ADAC, and really good to see the ADAC leading the way on that. Leading the way was Fabian Schiller, Raffaele Marciello and Kim Louis Schramm, and you could see how big the gap was back to Albert Costa Balboa. There really isn't as much pace in the Emil Frey Lamborghini, maybe because of the success penalty that it's carrying, but you saw as they were coming down the waterfall, that gap has now opened up to 5.3 seconds between third and fourth, which is a very big gap indeed. And even if Engelhardt can get past him, he's going to have his work cut out just to catch up with third place Schramm.
Yeah, my gut instinct says that 10 kilos isn't enough to justify this level of pace disparity. Don't forget, the car with 20 kilos, Zimmerman, is in the queue, stuck behind Costa Balboa. I think they are just struggling with the car a little bit at the moment. You've got 4th through to about 12th place, all in one long queue at the moment, as everyone tries to find a way past Costa Balboa. We see that a lot here at the Sachsenring. Overtakes, when they do happen, are always spectacular, but they're always very hard to achieve. You've got to really be calculated, set it up a couple of corners before. For example, out of turn 11, down the waterfall and here to Saxon at turn 13. Marciello not quite close enough there.
What has Raffaele Marciello got up his sleeve? He's clearly hanging the back end of that car out around the corner as he heads up 14. That's steep, steep climb up there, and boy, it is steep. Now, along the pit straight, is he close enough to pick up a slipstream? Well, a little maybe, but he's not close enough to challenge into turn 1, surely. Now, Marciello needs to remember he has a teammate. Daniel Juncker will inherit whatever state those tyres and indeed the car are in once the pit stop is done, and he needs to give Juncker something to fight with at the end of the race. But Marciello knows nothing other than off or on, and certainly at the moment he's doing all that he can. I think trying to pressure Fabian Schiller into a mistake. I should think that Christian Engelhardt would love it if the two of them got together and ended up in the gravel, because that would put him at the top of the championship. This is the view of Christian Engelhardt as he continues to hunt down Albert Costa Balboa.
I'd be really interested to see the pace of Engelhardt if he can break free from Costa Balboa, because Einchen Guven in the press conference on Friday was very clear in the fact that both he and Christian didn't necessarily expect the Porsche to be a winning package this weekend. He said, you know, Christian said podiums possible, wins unlikely. Porsche have only ever won here once since GT Masters began in 2007, and that was last year. So Porsche don't have the best record around this circuit. However, that car does look quick, and you just get the feeling that if he can get past Costa Balboa, he can head up the road and maybe challenge Kim Louis-Schramm for a podium spot.
And it might be that when the pit stop window opens, that will be the opportunity, as out wide. And you can see how hard Albert Costa Balboa is pushing. This is the opportunity for Christian Engelhardt. Albert Costa Balboa will have dirt on his tyres now into turn 1. Engelhardt looks to the inside. Costa Balboa anticipates it. Look how close Engelhardt is, but still Albert Costa Balboa holds on. That's allowed Marvin Dietz to close in, and also Elias Seppänen. So suddenly these cars are absolutely stacked on top of each other, and surely, well, if Engelhardt couldn't get past then, it really is possibly going to come down to the pit stop window. Maybe when the window opens, they will do the opposite of what Albert Costa Balboa does, try and pit him so that they get him out on open track to get some space in between him and the Lamborghini. As we look again at a replay of Costa Balboa, seem to remember last year, Albert Costa Balboa did not have a great time here at Sachsenring, and Jack Aitken, who will be inheriting that car, there's Frank Pereira in there as well, but Aitken will be he'll be watching from behind a pillow, I should think, and yes, in the man filter team always give us some great camera shots. You can see how emotionally invested they are in this.
Absolutely, yes. You can see that all throughout the paddock for sure. I'm very surprised that Costa Balboa is struggling this much, though. In qualifying, that car looked like it had some really good pace. You may recall, if you watched our qualifying show this morning, that car looked like it was on for a pole position lap, had a bit of an error at the penultimate corner that cost them just before the red flag. We thought the pace was there. Maybe they've made an ambitious change between qualifying and race, and that has caused them an issue. Raffaele Marciello looking ever more ambitious at the wheel of the Mamba. 5 minutes until the window opens. I think he wants to get this done on track before he hands the car over.
Yeah, classic Marciello, really. He's like, I'm not doing an undercut, I'm doing this on the track. I'm a racing driver. It is Mercedes from Mercedes. They've broken clear of Kim Louis-Schramm, who is nearly 5 seconds back down the road. riding on board with Engelhardt.
Yes, apologies. No, that's Marciello. Just to say, that was really interesting. Schiller had a bit of a dab on the brakes between turn 10, turn 11. Marciello didn't, and he carried so much more momentum down the waterfall as a result of that. Now, he can do that. I'm just wondering if he's spending his tyres a bit too much trying to do so.
And that is Salmon Vega going wide into turn 1 and allowing through the 54 car of Simon Riker. And also, who was that? It was the other Ovega that went through. Yes, Yusuf Ovega, who went through. So his brother getting past as well. But Raffaele Marciello, well, you don't need to see what the gap is. It says 0.461 at the top of your screen as we continue to ride on board with Engelhardt in the left-hand inset picture. But it changes on every corner. Marciello has lined up Fabian Schiller. He's trying to pressure him into a mistake. Great mature driving from the Fabian Schiller car. Just pointed out to me that car 63, Albert Costa Balboa, is under investigation for moving under braking. We saw that going into turn 1. They're allowed one change of direction under braking, and clearly Albert Costa Balboa did more than that. So under investigation, Albert Costa Balboa, the 4th place car.
Well, he'll be hoping, and I'm sure Jack Aitken will be hoping, that that doesn't incur a penalty lap or any other penalty as we continue to watch Marciello, who pushes it a bit too far going through Saxon T13.
I fell off my chair then.
I know, I thought I was going to have to pick you up off the floor there. And he's gone wide in the following corner as well. Now, I was saying just now that by not lifting off, by taking more apex speed, I thought he might be wasting his tyres. Maybe that's proving to be true. Now, this is Costa Balboa on board. I suspect we're seeing the moving under braking. Yes, we are. One could imagine that there was a car just behind him on the inside that had to swiftly get out of the way. Costa Balboa always with his elbows out when he needs to. Not surprised to see that he's holding on to that 4th position with everything he has.
Absolutely, he really is. I have to say, without wishing to sound like the Fabian Schiller fan club here, I am mightily impressed that he is just keeping calm. Marciello is giving it everything, hanging it out behind, doing all that he can to get past. But Fabian Schiller just keeping it solid, not making mistakes, just driving solid.
Are you trying to say that you're a shill for Schiller?
Oh, please, please. No puns here, please. Not on a Saturday. This is Albert Costa Balboa with Christian Engelhardt behind him, and also Marvin Dienst as well. This is the fight that we have been focusing on for 4th place. Kim Louis Schramm is having a bit of a lonely race. He's got nobody in front of him and no one behind him. He's in the last of the podium positions. Our focus is very much on 1st, 2nd and 4th. Either could kick off any second, but at the moment, Fabian Schiller just withstanding so much pressure. I just get the feeling he's just turned his mirror around. He's not even thinking about Marciello there. He's just driving a solid race, hitting all the apexes. Meanwhile, behind, Marciello goes into the gravel and has to pick it all up again, drops back, and that is going to be wrecking the tyres. And Daniel Juncker will not be appreciating this when he comes to take this car over.
Obviously, I don't know whether that's just Marciello pushing too hard or whether it is the tyres starting to give way. But as we get towards the end of the race, we will see more and more of that, particularly through the left-hand corners, because those right-side tyres, which take a majority of the load through a left-hand bend, get more and more worn as the race goes on. Because the tyre changes aren't permitted unless weather forces it or tyre damage forces it, we always talk about tyre wear in this series, but here it's the most prevalent by far of any other circuit, just because of how many fast sweeping lefts there are, particularly in that middle sector that we're going through now.
And talking about the weather, the forecast for tomorrow reckons it might be a little bit more slippery, so make the most of these autumnal sunny conditions here on the Saturday, because that might change things a bit. You can see the cars coming down the waterfall towards turn 13. In the inset picture on the left-hand side, you're riding on board with Raffaele Marciello. Now, Daniel Juncker getting suited and booted, because in 39, 38, 37 seconds, the pit window will be opening, and in that 10-minute window, every car will need to come into the pits. I wonder whether the Landgraf team will call in Marciello early, get him out on some open track. We'll get Juncker out on open track to see if they can do the undercut on the Fabian Schiller car. I don't think Marciello likes coming in early. I think he likes to maximise his time in the seat, but strategically, I'm wondering if that might be the way forwards for the Yellow Mamba.
Quite possibly, yes. We just saw Juncker just getting his helmet on now. That would suggest to me that it's not far away, but potentially not on the first opportunity as well. Maybe we'll see him pit somewhere more towards halfway through the window at the 30-minute marker. Reckless speculation, though. Let's wait and see what happens as the top two run down to the final couple of corners of the lap. Now down the waterfall and into Sachsen, turn 13. Just one more corner to go, then the pit entry, which is hugely steep if you've never walked it before.
And narrow. Yes,
that too. It is a tricky pit entry. Neither of the two Mercedes decide to sample it.
So the Manfilter team looking on. The Manfilter team, Landgraf, who had some great marketing going on. The stands here, the grandstands, are full of yellow memorabilia. They do a great job distributing, mainly free of charge, a lot of their merchandise, and all the fans are wearing yellow around the place, and it's very good to see. Kim Louis Schramm is into the pits from third place. Also, Balboa is in as well. Albert Costa Balboa, so this is significant. Handing over to Jack Aitken. So on board with Kim Louis Schramm, Dennis Marshall will be jumping into the driving seat of that car. So it's Schramm who jumps out, and then in gets Dennis Marshall. There is a heavily regulated pit stop. You're not allowed to have team all over it, just two crew members working on the car. And there is Albert Costa Balboa helping Jack Aitken to get buckled in, slams the door, wishes him good luck, and says, please don't put it in the gravel trap. And now Albert Costa Balboa, his work is done. He returns to the garage. Jack Aitken, who celebrated his birthday yesterday, happy birthday, Jack Aitken, now has 33 minutes plus 1 lap of this race all to himself in the Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini. He's released into the pits. He's got a lot of work to do, and he needs to bring that car home in the points to keep his championship alive. The
good news for Aitken as well is that they've just decided no further action on the moving under braking investigation that was levied over them after Albert Costa Balboa's stint, so he knows that he is safe and can press on. But this is going to be really critical for Aitken. Clearly, Costa Balboa wasn't finding the optimum pace in the car during that stint. Can Aitken do it? Let's find out. It's going to be very tricky, though, based on the pace of those behind Balboa earlier on. You'd think that Aitken might find himself further down.
Well, Jack Aitken's got some open track in front of him. He's got Marciello in front of him, but a little way ahead. So he's got an opportunity to get his toe down and on some open track, if that was possible. You can see on your screen there when the P turns green. Green Ps are great. It means that the pit stop has been done. If the P is grey, it means that the driver is still yet to pit. If the P is red, red P is always bad news because it means they've gone under the minimum pit stop time. If they miss the pit window completely, then they might as well give up and go home. Ask Nicky Katzberg.
Yes, Nicky, incidentally, is on site here this weekend, competing in the ETCR category. But as you have seen, and as we have noted, there is just the one Schubert BMW here this weekend. They're still getting input, though, from Nicky. I noticed he was spending quite a lot of time down at Schubert yesterday. Of course, Katzberg knows his way around a BMW GT car, so if the brain is there to pick, why not?
Indeed, why not? Once a Schubert driver, always a Schubert driver. It's still Fabian Schiller who leads the way. He stays out on track at the moment. Raffaele Marciello in second. That car there is now up into third place, and having been released from the Emil Frey Lamborghini that was in front, now is the opportunity for Engelhardt to put in some hot laps, and I would suggest he's going to run right to the end of the window to try and close that gap up so that when all the pit stops are done and dusted, he is well ahead of Jack Aitken.
Yeah, I could definitely see that strategy playing out, as you rightly say. Certainly, Guven's there, waiting with helmet on, seat insert in hand, saying, come on, I fancy a go at this. He knows this circuit a little better than he knew Lausitz's last time out. Of course, in the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, Arjen Guven has raced this circuit on a number of occasions. However, the circuit he was new to, Lausitz, was of course where they got their first win of the season last time out.
the pairing of Ian Chen-Guven and Christian Engelhardt has been very potent all year long. My colleague at the right-hand side of me touted them as championship favourites before we'd even turned a wheel, and you were very good with that. You may well bite your fingers. They're not going to thank you for the commentator's curse, but they are running second in the championship at the moment. And, well, what do I know about Engelhardt staying out halfway through the pit window, and here he comes into the pits. The Team U Sportwagen Technique Porsche in, hits the marks. On your marks, get set, go. Here comes Ian Chen-Guven, seat insert in hand. Pulls Engelhardt out of the car. The insert goes in. Of course, they are of a different build, so every seat has to be different. Now it's Engelhardt's turn to help Guven get buckled up, getting all the straps in, and very shortly it'll be Engelhardt who wish him good luck, put the net across and slam the door, plug him in first, adjust the steering wheel, here we go, bang. And then it's all down to Ian Chen-Guven, and the responsibility is with him to bring that car home in as high a position as possible. Has to be very careful not to go below the 65-second pit entry to pit exit time, but of course he doesn't want to go above it too much because that is valuable time on the track. They have a unit on their dashboard which shows them the time. They can back off, they can get it just right to the pit exit, but if they back off too much, they may well pick up a penalty.
Marchiello is in, so Raffaele Marchiello is the first of the top two, the Mercedes convoy, to pull the pin. Danny Juncadella will take the car over. Jules Gounon was very keen on minimising his minutes this weekend. It is his first time back in the car since they discovered the true severity of his spinal injury. And he said, you know, the fact that it is kind of maximum half an hour or so in the car is very much in my favour this weekend. By no means is Jules Gounon a slightly lighter force than usual. He was the quickest man here yesterday in free practice. But obviously, with the nature of that injury, he's still kind of going into the unknown to an extent when he hops into the car. So a long stint for Schiller, most welcome.
Daniel Juncadella jumps on board the yellow man, but there's Christian Engelhardt. He looks like he's done a workout, doesn't he? And yeah, good job done there. So here comes Daniel Juncadella, who's taken over from Raffaele Marchiello, and all that hard work that Marchiello did is now in the hands of Juncadella. He rejoins on a fairly open track. Our eyes are going to be very much on the race leader, Fabian Schiller, because here he comes into the pit lane, and Jules Gounon will be ready to jump into that car. So, keeping to the pit lane speed limit, here comes that Mercedes. And to a stop on the marks, you can see Gounon there. He opens the door and helps Schiller get out the car and jumps in himself. A little bit of a... see him just kind of a little flinch there as he gets in. I can imagine there's still a little bit of aching from that back as he gets in. Now getting buckled up, and Jules Gounon doing what he does best. That's not sitting at home waiting for healing. It is getting in a racing car and trying to win races, and he's in a good position. Right, let's keep an eye on Daniel Juncadella. Where is he? He is out on turn 11, down towards turn 12 at the moment. So Gounon will be rolling any second now. Where is he going to come out in relation to Daniel Juncadella? Here we go. Out into the pit lane, and that speed limit is going to feel tortuous. Out he comes. He has to be careful not to cross the white line. There's Juncadella in the distance. Remember, he is going full tilt. Now, here comes Jules Gounon. It looks as though he's just about done it. Yes, he has. More than just about. He's actually opened up the gap by my reckoning. So it's going to be Jules Gounon who re-inherits this race once Patrick Niederhauser has had his pit stop.
Danny Juncadella suffered a lot of understeer just there at turns 2 and 3, and again at turn 4. I'm just wondering if that car is in a little bit of trouble, because it doesn't look like it's turning in properly, particularly around the left-handers. Keep an eye on the body language of this car as we go through these high-speed sequence of left-handers, because he's already dropped time. He's clearly offline there coming out of turn 8. What is going on with Juncadella? I think there might be a problem developing there.
Tyres by any chance?
Possibly.
I don't know. Here's Luca Engsler. Now, oh, tear the door open. It wasn't going to open, was it? Niederhauser is out of the car. The Rutronic Audi is there in the pit box. The two crew members just checking tyre pressures. Again, the seat insert goes in. And now Luca Engsler is into the seat. Patrick Niederhauser getting him buckled up. He needs to plug in his radio, put the net across, and soon the car will burst back into life. Of course, engines have to be off during this pit stop. There we go. Door closed. It closed a lot easier than it opened, that's for sure. And now just waiting for that moment, the engine bursts into life, and the Audi R8 will shortly pull away into the fast lane, out to the pit exit. 3, 2, 1, and he crosses the line. Oh, 0.4 of a second. Sloppy was much. Luca Engsler rejoins in, well, that's going to be about 9th place, 10th place. Oh dear, we're watching him tumbling down the order as he rejoins. So, pit stops done and dusted. It's Jules Gounon who leads the way from Daniel Juncadella, Dennis Marshall, Ian Chen Guven, Jan Marszałkowski, a great 5th place for him, ahead of Luca Engsler. Frankie Bird has taken over from Elias Sebanen, and look who's in 8th place. Jack Aitken all the way down in 8th place. Clearly, there was an issue with that Lamborghini that Albert Costa Balboa was nursing, because that car has dropped like a stone through the pit window sequence.
Yeah, I can imagine that Emil Frey Racing are befuddled down there in the pit box, because the car looked promising in quali and it hasn't translated into the race in the slightest. Jack Aitken, as you say, down there in 8th position. The car was handed over to him from 4th place down to 8th, and May struggled to stay in the top 10.
Wow, didn't expect to see that, but we will keep an eye on Jack Aitken and see how the birthday boy does as he tries to move his way back up through the pack.
So my point about Juncadella on the left-hand turns, sector 2 here at the Sachsenring is a very short sector. It's done in less than 18 seconds, but it runs from the exit of turn 7 to the waterfall, which is basically all left-handers. On the last lap, Juncadella lost almost half a second just through those left-handers alone. I think that right front tyre is a spent force.
And maybe that heavy running earlier on in the race is coming back to haunt them in the Landgraf team, Manfilter team, Mercedes. The leader, Jules Gounon, looking very comfortable. This is a challenge. It's Christopher Mies. Now, you did say that Jack Aitken might come under pressure. Christopher Mies, defending champion in ADAC GT Masters, is looking very rapid, and he is experiencing the same kind of problems that Christian Engelhardt was, and that is an Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini, which is not going as fast as he would like, or as slow as he would like.
Yeah, very good point. It's going at just that annoying middle speed where it's in the way, but it's also not quick enough, so you can go at the speed you know you can do. Mies with a good run there down the waterfall, both of them ignoring the track limits, it must be said. To the outside at Saxon goes Christopher Mies, and now tries to cut to the inside. Let's see if he's got a good enough run into the final corner. Aitken, Wiley, make sure he gets to the inside. Last year, it was a different team, but a Lamborghini that held off a lot of drivers in the second half of the race in the hands of Rolf Nijken. I wonder if Jack Aitken was taking notes.
Well, this is the first time that Jack Aitken has raced here at the Sachsenring. It is a track that takes a bit of taming. He takes a very middle line through turn 1. A little bit of contact for Christopher Mies, but now Mies has another Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini behind him in the hands of Frank Pereira. So he is most definitely the meat in the sandwich. 2 Lamborghinis, an Audi in between. The Audi looking the more rapid of the 3, it has to be said, but can still not find a way past Jack Aitken. Aitken is learning the Sachsenring the hard way. Christopher Mies has done many, many laps around here, but he needs to pressure Jack Aitken into a mistake. We saw the motorsport board taking a bit of a beating earlier on, the remnants at the side of the track, so someone has clearly been through that. But this is the battle we are focusing on. It is for 8th place, Jack Aitken from Christopher Mies, Frank Pereira, and in the background, another Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini with Consta Lapalainen at the wheel.
Yes, great stuff, isn't it, this? I think we're going to have quite the train of cars developing soon Aitken there, mid-corner speed at turn 13 was nowhere near any of the cars behind him. That Lambo does seem to be struggling. This circuit, it is a fine balance for setup. We heard that from Marcus Winkelhock, who they've been struggling with both understeer and traction all weekend so far. I think Christopher Mies might be about to make Aitken struggle with a braking move into turn 1. Does he get to the inside? Well, not quite, but he's making his intentions known.
Jack Aitken knows how to defend a position, and without being rude to Jack, defending is what he is doing at the moment, because Christopher Mies clearly has the pace, but that big wide Lamborghini in the hands of Jack Aitken is proving to be a little bit troublesome. Now they are all queuing up behind. There's another Lamborghini in there as well. That's Marco Mappelli, who took over from Maximilian Paul. Mattia Drudi in the number 33 Audi's in the bunch as well. And they're all starting to queue up behind Jack Aitken. So can Aitken hold on for another 19 minutes plus 1 lap in that Lamborghini? I can see you shaking your head. It's not looking likely, is it?
That Audi of Christopher Mies is looking very threatening indeed. But as we've said many a time, catching is one thing, passing is another. Now, Chris, given he's got 20 kilos of ballast, you'd expect that car to be one of the worst on tyres, but it looks like he's got a lot more grip at the moment.
Here's a replay of that move that we saw on board, and a little bit of a tap there going into turn 1. Aitken has to do a little bit of a correction. You see him looks in the mirror. I'm pleased we can't lip read what might have been coming out of his mouth there. Again, the challenge to the outside, cut back to the inside. Everybody is queuing up behind. Looking at the graphic, 35,252 euros towards our race laps for Wales in Africa. Good job, everybody. Let's make it a 2-hour race. That would get the total up a bit, wouldn't it? Here comes Jack Aitken up the hill, a blind crest up towards turns 5 and 6. It really is a steep climb up over the top and then all the way back down on the roller coaster. This is a windy, narrow little bit of track here. They will go back uphill again, and before too long, they'll be coming back down the waterfall.
31.2 litres worth of V10 engine in this queue. 6 5.2 litre V10 engines in a row at the moment as they run in this battle. And Aitken finally runs it a bit too wide. Christopher Mies says, yes, please. And here comes Pereira. Emil Frey Racing. I'm sure they all just winced down in the garage there. Pereira tried to find the inside line. Jack Aitken said, no.
Nice bit of calculations there. You put your shoes and socks back on now. So lots of Lamborghinis fighting each other, and Emil Frey thought they were going to have a bit of a late night with all their Lamborghinis getting together. Clearly Aitken has an issue. Look at the gap that Mies has pulled from him already, and I wonder whether Pereira might actually be given an opportunity to get past by Jack Aitken, because clearly there is an issue there. There's Marco Mappelli sliding it around the outside. He was a real entertainer at this event last year, and he's aiming to do the same again this year in the number 71 Paul Motorsport Lamborghini. But he is now pressuring Mattia Drudi. We've got a yellow flag in turn 1. And what do you think that is?
That was a moment for Dries van Tor by the looks of it, as we get a replay of the incident with Jack Aitken there shutting the door on Frank Pereira. Emil Frey Racing and Jack Aitken alike, though, will want that 63 car in the points. Yeah. Points go down to 15th place. That is their only horse in the title fight, as we know.
Yeah, fair point, fair point. And you could see the 71 car Marco Mappelli doing a bit of drifting around the corner. Now, this is a replay. We haven't seen much of Sven Muller this afternoon, that was the yellow.
Van Tor going straight on.
Yeah, Van Tor going into the gravel trap. Muller has taken over from Joel Sturm after their controversial race to Sachsenring. They've decided to have a quieter one down in 15th place, maybe courtesy of that opening lap. But not really troubling the point scorers this afternoon at the moment. If you're wondering what's happening up front, is Jules Gounon leading the way still as we look at the scrapping further back. Marco Mappelli is in there as well.
He's made up 2 positions on this lap, and Lapalainen has suddenly dropped off his 2 colleagues from Emil Frey Racing. So I think he was either involved in a collision or made an error.
I think Marco Mappelli loves this place. He always shines at Sachsenring, does Mappelli. Jules Gounon is leading the race. If you're wondering what's happening, Daniel Juncadella is nearly 4 seconds behind, 3.939 to be precise. Dennis Marshall is some 8 seconds behind them. So the 1, 2, 3 quite spaced out. We're looking again at this maneuver. And, there was a bit of a thump, wasn't there?
That was very scary.
I've been wondering if the steering might be a bit bent. He's saying, have some back, mate. Go on, have it. And up into 14 they go. I wonder if his steering wheel might have a bit of angle on it now. There's first. There is second, running very much on their own. We have a long way back to third. So the 1, 2, 3 looking pretty set, fair, with 15 minutes of this race remaining. Then the fourth place, Ian Changoon, running on his own. Jan Marszalkowski looking good for his best result ever in GT Masters, and boy, does he deserve that. Luca Engsler looking less secure in 6th place because Frankie Bird is on the move. We haven't said much about him. He's taken over from Elias Seppänen in the other of the yellow Mambas, and great to have Frankie Bird on the grid in GT Masters this year. And he and Elias Seppänen, two young chargers coming up through the ranks of GT3, and they've proven to be a great combination.
Expect them to be around for a long time. I think two talents that will linger over the years in many a GT racing paddock. Now Frankie Bird, of course, at the wheel of the 84 car, will be looking to get into that top 6. I don't think it's the first time that Luca and Frankie have had a couple of fights so far this year, actually. I think the 15 and the 84 often crop up in similar real estate.
Yeah, so they seem to be of a very similar caliber, don't they? Frankie just saying that of all the racing this year, he's only done 2 of the tracks in the entire series before, Zandvoort and Nürburgring. So, like many, this is the first time he's ever been to Sachsenring, one of the most unusual tracks you'll visit, certainly in GT Masters, and it is a tough old beast to tame, and he's doing a great job, along with Elias Seppänen, learning this track and racing competitively. To be in P7 in a field that is as tough as this is no mean feat.
Look at the gap already now between Mies and Aitken. A great illustration of just how bad it is for Jack Aitken at the wheel at the moment. Let's see what the gap is between them this time across the line. Already practically 6 seconds that Christopher Mies has gotten away from Jack Aitken in, what, 4 laps there or thereabouts? So clearly Aitken is the cork in the bottle, but he needs, and he knows that he and Costa Balboa need every point they can get.
It's definitely the scrapping of the Lamborghinis over that 9th place at the moment. It is Aitken at front of the queue, from Pereira, Marco Mapelli, then Mattia Drudi in the Audi, and then another Lamborghini, Consta Lappalainen. So all the Lamborghinis running pretty well together on the track, but the one at the front is probably the one that has the least pace. And they continue to queue up to get past. Will it stay like this for the next 13 minutes plus 1 lap? Well, we're going to find out, aren't we? This is race 11 of a 14-race season for the ADAC GT Masters, racing for the title of German champion. And there is the 71 car. He's got a puncture. So out wide goes Marco Mapelli, and I wonder if some of the contact that we saw might have eventually forced that tyre to go down, but his afternoon is over.
Scary, scary place for that to happen as well, in between the multitude of left-hand apexes in the second sector, and he'll be doing well to get that car back or even.
And of course, with the tyre burst and potentially the rubber flapping around, if he goes too fast, it will just wreck the bodywork around it. You can hear it slapping away, could do an awful lot of damage. So it has to be a slow crawl back to the pits, and it's going to feel like an eternity getting up that hill towards turn 14.
Yeah, replay of that there. Oh, it really was mid-corner that it finally let go. That was very well held from him, I must say. Mapelli knows his way around a Lamborghini, but I think 9 times out of 10 that could have ended in the gravel.
I think that's what we call a code brown moment, as we saw a bit of the bodywork flying off as well. It's the flailing rubber doing all sorts of damage on that car, and Emil Frey will be just looking at that and grimacing as that car just ambles and struggles back. You can see part of the bodywork has been broken away, finally into the pit lane. I imagine they will probably retire that. It seems very little point putting a fresh tyre on it and getting it back out, and there will probably be damage that needs repairing anyway. Up over the hill of the pit lane and into the pits comes Mattia Drudi. But one thing is for sure, Marco Mappelli, I beg your pardon, I don't know why I called him Matteo Drudi, there we go. But one thing's for sure, he's not going to be scoring points this afternoon.
While we were distracted by all of that, Frank Pereira has gotten past Jack Aitken. So Frank Pereira up to 9th place, Aitken down to P10. And I don't think that's left the door open for anyone else from what we can see on the timing screens, but Aitken will still be under intense pressure.
After this race, there will be 84 points available in the championship. So Aitken and Albert Costa Balboa are by no means out of the hunt in terms of the championship, but it's getting into the realms where they're going to need Raffaele Marciello to fall down a hole or something to actually allow them to do that. You can see that as things finish at the moment, Marciello will have opened up his gap to 20 points if things remain as they are. Gounon and Schiller 33 points back. Albert Costa Balboa and Jack Aitken 41 points back. And to remind you, after today, there will be 84 points available. It's still Jules Gounon who leads the way, Daniel Juncadella in 2nd place. Of course, Juncadella has less points than Raffaele Marciello because he only jumped into that seat the last round at the Sachsenring, having been in another Mercedes in the Drago Racing Team ZVO Mercedes for the first part of the season. That same ZVO Mercedes currently running in 5th place, the number 8 car, which was driven by Marvin Deans, has been taken over from Jan Marszalkowski, a driver who really deserves a bit of good luck as well. So we wish him well as he continues in 5th place. And the car 33 challenging to come through on the inside. So lots of challenging going on all the way through the grid. That's Matteo Drudi making a challenge on Konsta Lapalainen.
Yeah, those two have been scrapping so hard that Jack Aitken has a little bit of a cushion. A rare novelty for him in this race. I will say, Jules Gounon, if you follow him on Instagram, you'll know this. Well, I'll pause because here comes Sturm running across the gravel there.
Keep it going.
I think he might have just about done so.
That's not Sturm, it's Muller, isn't it?
Sorry,
He's taken over from Sturm.
Sorry.
But has he kept it out? Yeah, that car has been in more battles over these last couple of weeks than you can shake a stick at. And Allied Racing going to run out of spares here.
Yeah, down to 18th place as a result of that bad race gone to worse. I was just going to say previously, as Christopher Meese decides his car's a Quattro when it isn't.
Tyres? What tyres?
Indeed. Jules Gounon was seen in the paddock yesterday and seen across the internet wearing a shirt saying, "Keep calm and support Dennis Marshall." He and Danny Juncadella and Raffaele Marciello will all be doing that right now because Ian Chan Guven is closing in on Marshall, and they'd rather like the title challenging Porsche of Guven and Engelhardt to be 4th, not 3rd. So support Dennis Marshall indeed if you're either a member of ZVO or Team Landgraf.
You saw at the back of the pack the two Monteplas by Land Audis a long way back. The number 28 and number 29 cars, Christopher Haase and Dries Vanthoor. They're not used to being at the back of a pack. And Christopher Haase, the first ever champion in GT Masters, and Dries Vanthoor, currently a champion in the Sprint Cup of the GT World Challenge Europe. And they are loitering at the back of the pack at the moment, not enjoying the Sachsenring. Marcus Winkelhock, now there is a bit of a legend. The number 69 car, of course, an ex-Formula 1 racer, currently fighting Jesse Krohn for 13th place. Jesse Krohn, who's jumped across to join Ben Green in the Schubert Motorsport BMW, both drivers in the same car for this event. And Jesse Krohn in 13th place, coming under a lot of pressure from the Audi of Marcus Winkelhock.
BMW fans, you'll be happy to know that Schubert fully expecting this to be a one-off. They'll be back up to 2 cars come Hockenheim. But Jesse Krohn doing a good job of making the M4 wide at the moment, but Winkelhock looking challenging there. Oh, a bit too much so. Pushing the limits of adhesion out of T13.
It's a pretty wide car already, so he's making it even wider. Right, here's a challenge for a position further back. It's a Lamborghini alongside an Audi. So is that Jack Aitken coming under pressure?
Yeah, that was Drudi getting past Aitken. So Aitken down to 11th place there. We said he had a cushion a couple of laps ago. Clearly it didn't last long. Yeah. It's been popped already. And Matteo Drudi up to 10th place. Here comes Konsta Lapalainen as well for good measure. Oh, I don't know what adjustment they made between the quali and the race and that number 63 car, but it's looked challenging from the word go. It's not just tyres being worn. The car just doesn't look balanced.
I say blame the success ballast and be done with it.
There you
Hey, Jules Gounon still leading. You can see a lot of cars running wide, and that says a lot potentially about tyre degradation. Also, look at these shots. You can see the marbles on the outside of the racing line, those bits of rubber there, remnants of people's tyres, and that shows you how much of a pounding these tyres take here around the Sachsenring. And I think a lot of these cars are struggling for grip in the closing stages of this race. Down the waterfall we come, once again taking a look to the inside. No change of position yet, and still we continue. Still we go out onto the gravel, and still the driver's searching for that little bit of traction. Again, looking back from Jesse Krohn, Marcus Winkelhock. Was that a little bit of a punt into the corner? Stock car racing much? I don't know. Still, the Jesse Krohn car stays in front. Norbert Siedler in the background. He might fancy his chances once again. Winkelhock, he spent more time in the gravel and on the grass than he has on the tarmac.
Use every inch of the track and some of the scenery. That's the Winkelhock way. Smoking Joe was another example of that back in the day. Marcus Winkelhock pressuring here for 13th place. Of course, he races along with Florian Spengler, who at the moment is the only trophy driver we have, which is kind of for the quick amateurs. And those two have made a formidable pairing in the past. Certainly, Winkelhock would like to get some good points on the board here today. Getting past Jesse Krohn would do that. Staying out of the gravel would do that too, mind you.
He has literally, he's going out wide on pretty well every corner. It's very entertaining, but as you say, probably not the quickest way around. And I should think Norbert Siedler and Christopher Haase behind are starting to think we might get an opportunity here. Christopher Haase in the number 28 car, currently lining up Norbert Siedler down the waterfall, up towards turn 13. And also Winkelhock, again, challenging Jesse Krohn, still no change of position. We did tell you it was hard to overtake around here, didn't we? Up this steep hill towards turn 14. No position changes yet. Dries Vanthoor at the back of that queue. He is not used to being at the back of a queue. Dries Vanthoor, he only knows the front of the grid. At the moment, he's down in 17th place and out of the points. We are into the last 4 minutes plus 1 lap of this race. And Jesse Krohn looks painfully slow around those corners to me.
Yeah, a few cars notably struggling in these closing stages, as is so often the case here at the Sachsenring. And yeah, Jesse, much like last year, has ended up in a green and black BMW and as the cork in the bottle. Both two things he probably didn't expect to be doing about a month ago. He was going to be in a different coloured car, and he was hoping the tyre life would be slightly better. However, the Audis look rather more strong at the moment.
There's two Mercedes that are leading the way, though. Gounon and Junkadea, that appears to be the weapon of choice. There's a Mercedes in 5th in the hands of Jan Marszałkowski, and there's another one in 7th in the hands of Frankie Bird. So Mercedes definitely have the upper hand at this point. Dennis Marshall is the leading Audi. Einstein Guven in 4th place is the leading Porsche. The BMW of Jesse Krohn, well, it's the only BMW, so it's the leading one in 13th place, and he still is at the front of this queue of cars. Christopher Haase having a little look to the inside of Norbert Siedler. Nothing doing there. Along the pit straight now, with 2.5 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining, is somebody going to try a bit of a dive bomb into turn 1. I still think patience is running out. In the background, there's Sven Muller, who returns from his little moment. He had a picnic out in the forest at one point. He's back again on the track and rushing to join the back of that queue.
And they're doing a bit of cruel illustration here of just how far back that fight for 13th is by waiting for the leader. Here he is. Jules Gounon crosses the line to complete lap 42 of this race. 2:10 plus 1 lap left to go, and he's been in control there. Although recently Junkadea has been closing. I should also mention, since I discussed it earlier on, that Dennis Marshall and Ayhan Guven, that gap has stabilised. In fact, in recent times, Marshall has been extending over Guven. So it seems as though any challenge for 3rd place is no longer in the offing.
The gap between 1st and 2nd is 2.692, but even if Gounon backs off a little bit, it doesn't look to me like Daniel Junkadea has got anything that he can bring to the table here. The tyres are clearly shot on the number 48 yellow Mamba. Gounon looks to have control of this race. I hope that is not the famous last words. We're into the final 90 seconds plus 1 lap, and again, a very wide line for Daniel Junkadea out of the corner, but he continues in that that second place. You can see on the little screen on the left-hand side the view from Jesse Krohn looking back at Marcus Winkelhock. So we're keeping one eye on that battle as well. And there is the third place car. We have seen nothing of that car all afternoon. Kim Nui-Schramm and then Dennis Marshall have been running pretty well on their own. Racing, what racing? It's just been putting in hot laps for an hour.
Retronic. There you go. Those are all the mentions he would have had the car been in the battle
yes.
over the course of the last hour.
Yes, remember Retronic. Yes, there we go. Is that enough for you? Yes. So here we go. And in the background, Ian Chen Guven, who took over from Christian Engelhardt. Well, a fourth place. That will give them 13 points. It's not quite what they need to keep a handle on the championship. So it is very much advantage Raffaele Marciello if things stay as they are. Now, you've spotted something on the timing screen. It is a fact that Guven's going slowly. Very slow indeed. I said he was dropping off of Marshall. He's also being caught rather quickly by Marszalkowski. Now, I don't think there's enough time, but I'm just wondering if Ian Chen Guven is picking up on some rather serious tyre wear issues or perhaps another problem. Winkelhock once again innovating the ADAC GT Masters Rallycross Trophy. Apparently new for 2023 if Winkelhock comes to power as he continues to hassle the back of Jesse Krohn. I think if Winkelhock doesn't go wide on a corner, I'm going to think there's something wrong. So here he is again, looking at that BMW. So to remind you, the clock strikes 0, but we get an extra lap. So our leader is currently coming up towards turn 14 at the moment, and will very shortly commence the last lap of the race. It's Jules Gounon from Daniel Juncadella. He starts his final lap, very much in control. 2.85 seconds to the good. Dennis Marshall, the lonely race in the Rutronic in third place. Ian Chen Guven, well, wishing the race was a lap shorter probably, because Jan Marszalkowski, man on a mission. There's a driver who's had an up and down season and is desperately looking for something good, and I get the feeling that if he does get anywhere near Guven, he's going to take a punt at him, but maybe just a little bit too far back. Our race leader out towards turn 7. Yeah, Gounon on his own now. He's controlled this stint magnificently. I think everyone, even perhaps quietly, including himself, wondered whether the neck injury, the spinal injury, would cause him grief here at the Sachsenring. He proved over one lap that everything was a-okay in free practice. Over a race distance, it seems all is well too. Down the waterfall for one last time. Jules Gounon, Daniel Juncadella in the background, in towards turn 13. And for one last time on this Saturday afternoon, it's the steep climb up towards turn 14. Still the challenges go on further back, but at the front, here comes Jules Gounon taking the win along with co-pilot Fabian Schiller, Daniel Juncadella, Raffaele Marciello in second. Marciello extending his championship further. Jan Marszalkowski is up with Ian Chen Guven. I don't think he's going to get past him. Marshall is across the line. Who will come across next? I think it's going to be Guven, but we've got our eyes on this fight at the back as well. Marszalkowski got him in the final couple of corners. Yes, Marszalkowski up to fourth place. Smoke and damage on the BMW. Is that a puncture? It's certainly body rub on the left side corner, and I think that might be owing to Marcus Winkelhock's unique rearrangement strategy. Yeah. From front to rear. Yes, there is damage on the rear of that car, isn't there? And so they race along towards the final corners for the final time. Marcus Winkelhock, despite that damage, still unable to get past Jesse Krohn in the BMW. So up towards 14 they come. But what a move from Jan Marszalkowski up to fourth place. Clearly, Ian Chen Guven had problems. Across the line, I should think that Jesse Krohn has never been so happy to see the checkered flag. And Sven Muller gained a position at the very last corner there because Dries Vanthoor suffered a puncture coming out of the second last turn. He limps across the line now with 3 wheels on the wagon. Well, we spoke about the tyre drama. Yeah. Of course, we've got new rubber for 2022, so this was something of an unknown commodity, and tyre wear was definitely the talk of the town today. Yes, this new rubber, we haven't been a full hour of of racing with them, and you wonder whether there is some issue about some of the tyres going the distance, and we'll find out more about that tomorrow. The car that did go the distance, a really cool game from Fabian Schiller. He just kept it cool. He kept it all together to the pit stop. Then that man there, Jules Gounon, the driver that we didn't even think was going to be here this weekend in the second stint, and there was that puncture.
Now this is a different puncture. Guven had one too.
Wow, so that is why Marszałkowski got a run at him in the closing stages. So coming up towards turn 14, and just in the nick of time, Marszałkowski sees the opportunity. I'll have that, thank you very much, and through he goes. And Marszałkowski gets that 4th place. Ayhancan Guven limping across to 5th place. And he'll be pretty fed up about that. This is a race that has been very much about tyres.
It has been. I mean, we spoke about Van Toor's puncture there at the last corner. I didn't realise that Guven had lost his position at the last corner because of a puncture as well.
Yeah.
We knew that he was nursing something. That much was obvious. But at the very last corner on corner exit, that's unspeakably cruel for Guven and Engelhardt.
Well, if Raffaele Marciello had taken a lot out of the tyres of the number 48 car, you'd consider it quite lucky that he made it to the end. But the car that finishes in 1st place, Jules Gounon, be gentle with that back, please, Fabian. We need to see him tomorrow. But yeah, it just felt to me like a solid drive. There was no drama, no sliding about, no wackiness. Just get in front and drive sensibly. And I have to say, hats off not just to Jules Gounon, but to Fabian Schiller. He did most of the hard work.
Yeah, absolutely right. In that first stint, Schiller was having to put in a mighty shift to hold off Marciello, who now leads the championship by 22 points over Engelhardt and Guven. When we were sat down for breakfast this morning, that gap was 10 points between the top 2 teams in the championship. So Marciello has had a very good day in the office.
He has, and he'll look as miserable as hell because he's finished in 2nd. But, you know, when he's sat down and had to think about it, then he'll realise, yes, I've done exactly what I need to do. And he has his eyes on the championship. There's our lead duo, and you just cannot help feel really happy, particularly for Jules Gounon. It didn't look like he was going to be here. We were all actually quite surprised when on Thursday, I think it was, maybe Wednesday, he announced that he was going to race this weekend, because we all thought he was out for the rest of the season. And here he is, taking the top step of the podium. Let's have a look at the full result as the cars crossed the line. It was Fabian Schiller and Jules Gounon who completed 45 laps. Marciello, Juncadella, the gap was 1.1 at the end. I think that was very much under control ahead of Kim Louis Schramm, Dennis Marshall, Marvin Dizier and Marszałkowski, their best result of the season ahead of Christian Engelhardt and Ayhancan Guven as a result of that puncture. Patrick Niederhausen and Luca Engstler are ahead of Elias Seppen and Frankie Burt. Good job from them too. Ahead of Tim Zimmerman and defending champion Christopher Mies in the Monteplas by Land Motorsport Audi. 9th place, very shortly, will show us Franck Barrera and Arthur Rougier in the Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini ahead of Thierry Vermeulen and Matthias Drudy. Albert Costa Balboa, Jack Aitken, 11th place for them. They will not be happy with that ahead of their teammates Mick Wiesofer and Consta Lavalainen. Ben Green, Jesse Krohn, another struggle for them. Florian Spengler, Marcus Winkelhock, Simon Riker, Norbert Siedler, and then Salmon Ovega and Christopher Haase rounding out the top 16. Joel Sturm, Sven Muller spent an awful lot of time having intimate conversations with the squirrels in the forest ahead of Yusuf Ovega and Dries Van Tor, with Max Paul and Marco Mappelli retiring from the race.
Do love a good squirrel reference on a Saturday afternoon. That was great. Jules Gounon with a fabulous drive to the end there. Of course, we've spoken at length about these tyres. What we don't know is whether these teams are maybe pushing the limits a bit on the tyre pressures, going for victory over conservatism. And Jules Gounon there, he can still dance. That's good. Yeah. Another tick off the list in the physical recovery programme.
Back pain? What back pain? When he got into the car at the pit pit stop window, we did see him wince and his face kind of screw up. And I thought, yeah, that still hurts a little bit. And then Fabian is like, yeah, don't pick him up, please.
Yeah.
Be gentle. I'm sure that Jules will be back to 100% very soon indeed. He's made a great recovery so far. And I should think that taking the top step of the podium will be the best medicine and therapy of all. Congratulations there from Daniel Juncadella to the duo who have won the race. Great stuff here at the Sachsenring. It is a tough old circuit. It is one that is a real challenge to these drivers. The drivers that came out on top, though, in third place, Kim Louis Schramm and Dennis Marshall for Rutronic Racing. A very lonely race. We didn't see them overtake or be overtaken at any point, but I'm sure they were happy about that. They get a trophy for their trouble. Second place, our championship leader, Raffaele Marciello, along with his teammate, Daniel Juncadella for Mann-Filter Team Landgraf in the Mercedes-AMG GT3. But taking the top step of the podium, it is another Mercedes-AMG GT3 in the hands of Fabian Schiller, who put it on pole position, and Jules Gounon, who brought it home for Drago Racing Team ZVO. Victory for number 4. Lots of dancing going on. I think the Jules Gounon dancing lessons have rubbed off on you, haven't they?
On. It has. It has. He's an influential man, is that Jules Gounon.
So we are getting ready for our trophy presentations. It has been a glorious day here. It's got a real autumnal twang in the air. A monstrous crowd have gathered here at the Sachsenring to witness the racing here this weekend. I think probably one of the biggest crowds I've ever seen at this circuit. And they have been entertained with all sorts of excitement. The headline, of course, the GT Masters, and the headline of the headline is Jules Gounon and Fabian Schiller take the top step of the podium for Drago Racing Team ZVO. Now, coming into this, they were a long way back in the championship. They were 38 points adrift, so they have closed that up a bit, as we've already seen, but not by that much, by just 5 points. But I'd say that Gounon and Schiller are still very much in it. You only need one non-finish from Raffaele Marciello, and this will be turned up on its head. And I would remind you that up until today, only 2 driver pairings had won more than one race this season, just to put that out there.
Schiller and Gounon, one of them with 2 wins.
Indeed, they're the first to 3. I was just having to refer to my notes to double check on that. And of course, the other was Ben Green and Nicolas Cruton, who did it all in the same weekend. So yes, Schiller and Gounon are the first drivers to win 3 victories this season. And it shows just how competitive GT Masters are. And they'll be in a good position. I wouldn't put it past them doing it all again tomorrow.
No, absolutely. I mean, it was a point I made at the top of the programme that it was the 4th pole of the year for the 48 Mann-Filter Team Landgraf car. Their 4th pole position of the season. The last time we saw more than 4 poles out of the same car in a season was 2015. It's always mixed up. It's always difficult to come into a weekend and know what order the cars will line up on the grid, and indeed what order they will cross the line in at the end of 60 minutes plus 1 lap. And that's what makes GT Masters so compelling. As long as you're somewhere around the top 5, race in, race out, you're going to be a championship contender. Victories in abundance don't always win you a championship.
And it's interesting because you look at the Team U Sportwagen Technique, Porsche of Ian Schenguven and Christian Engelhardt, and they have finished in the top 8 for all bar 2 races. They had a rubbish time race 2 at Nürburgring and at Oschersleben at the season opener. But yeah, they have just always been there.
And we just alluded to the fact that Gounon and Schiller have just claimed their 3rd win, and they're not in the championship top 2 right now.
So there you go. Nothing else to add, my lord. So we're just looking out across the local countryside here in Saxony. It is gorgeous here. We're just waiting for the podium ceremony. It's a bit of a climb up there.
We're under the letter A in Saxony.
Oh yeah, come and say hello. I like custard donuts. If anybody's got any, they would fancy bringing stuff to under box 6. under the letter A. There we go. Trackside view. Yeah, okay, we're getting no sympathy, I can tell that already. The Drago Racing team, who have are new for this year from the ashes of Zach Speed Racing, and very successful indeed. They watch on as the third place drivers come out onto the podium. Kim Louis Schramm and Dennis Marshall. Here comes next the championship leader, Raffaele Marciello, along with his co-driver, Daniel Junkadea. The very tall Marciello taking the second step of the podium. And then here, the top step. What a comeback for Jules Gounon. What a mature drive for Fabian Schiller. What a result here at the Sachsenring. And they will be utterly, utterly delighted with that. A near perfect score. And had it not been for just getting outpaced on the pole position shootout, it would have been a perfect score. A representative from Drago Racing Team ZVO, and now time for the national anthem. So under the Saxony sunshine, national anthem echoes around this wonderful arena and this wonderful circuit, which we do enjoy visiting so much. Klaus Klutzner awarding the trophies to our winners. That's a great trophy, that is.
That is. That's like multiple shards, isn't it? That's very nice.
I'd say that'd be quite a bad weapon if you use that. Anyway, so here comes the... I don't know what I'm trying to say there. That is the other trophy. That's been awarded. You can only carry one at a time. They're so big.
That's what I was going to say. This presentation is going to take a little longer than normal, isn't it? They're quite hefty.
They had to bring them to the podium on a forklift. So, right, what's second going to get? There we go. Nils Wolf is... presenting the second place trophy. Oh, he's got an assistant. Oh, don't fall over, mate. There we go. There we go. Fall over the trophy. Don't break that one. They are remarkable, aren't they? Remarkable. Yeah. Although that number 2 on it, I used to think that Raffaele Marciello scratched that out and crayon in number 1 over the top of it. And here comes the third place, Francesco Friedrich. We mentioned him earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, Olympic bobsledder. He probably knows our mate Martin Haven, who's here this weekend doing some commentary on a different category, since he does his winter sports during the non-motorsport months.
The only winter sport I know is a snowball fight. Right, so the trophies have been presented. Actually, I'm trying to do like skiing. Here comes the... Got to throw that in. They were giving out skis for the pole position award at one point. I was hoping some might come my way, but it didn't happen. There's the trophy for the team, and Drago Racing Team ZVO, who have more than taken over from where Zach Speed left off, and in fact have had a better result from the last couple of years. Great team, fielding some excellent cars with some excellent drivers, providing us with excellent entertainment. Of course, the other one being driven by Jan Marshakovsky and Marvin Deaston. Congratulations to them. If we get 4 people on the podium, I would have dragged them up there because they really deserved it. So trophies are presented, and now we look to the sky. I don't know what they're all looking at. I thought the red arrows are coming over 1 minute. Right, here we go. The champagne celebrations start.